Okay, yeah, hi. I was gonna say that was Kelly, our stage manager, cleaning up. And not only does she, clean up, but she has to run the sound and the light cues. All by herself, right, yeah.
Let's do all pre-show work. Are you comfortable if I take my mask off? Are you comfortable?
Yeah.
And that's that. Okay.
Do that too.
And with that being said, I want to introduce Larry Lobel, who's going to moderate a brief 15, 20-minute conversation. Larry, I'm going to let you take it away.
Okay. So let me start by saying I've spent the major part of my theatrical career being a dramaturg, and I would be willing to bet that most of the people in the audience have no idea what that is or what that job is. A dramaturg, the word comes from German. It's used as the word playwright in German, but dramaturg is a kind of a nudge who helps actors and directors and sometimes playwrights get things right in a production. We do historical and factual research. We do interpretive work in rehearsals sometimes. I like to tell a story about a play that I worked on that was set in the 1970s, where my job was to get a 3-hour block of music so that all of the actors in the play could dance to music from the 70s as a way of kind of getting into the era. That was a fun research project. But dramaturgs also do interpretive work and help during rehearsals, or at least my career was helping during rehearsals with interpretations of many things, the play at large, but also lines and things like that, sometimes asked by directors, sometimes asked by actors, sometimes asked by people who were part of the creative team. What is a 15th century sidewalk look like? All kinds of things might come up with costume questions, things like that. So dramaturgs have a research function, but also have an interpretive function. In my career, I only worked on contemporary plays, almost all on new plays. So a lot of the work that I did was with playwrights. So let me talk a little bit about my sense of what this play is about, and then we should talk together. To me, this is a play about unfinished business and desperate hope. It's about things that are broken, and there are so many things in the play that are broken: the house, the shutter, the dock, the hot water heater, the Lake Placid Miracle on Ice cup, and also the lives of these two people who are estranged or in some way discomfited from the people that they need to be connected to. They're guarded, they're defensive, they have made mistakes, they've lied about their credentials, and yet somehow these two people who are really as broken as the things that are around them make an attempt to make a connection with each other. And that's sort of at the core of the play. Now, it's very, very tricky as a playwright, and certainly directors have the problem of solving this, to write a play and then enact a play about characters who have about whom we, the audience, will have so many misgivings. Neither of these characters end up with many things on the positive side of the tally. But I was convinced that they come to need each other, and they will come to each other's aid, as they sort of do at the end of this play. They understand they can't stay in the shitty little cabin. They have to move forward, but at the same time, in retrospect, looking back at what they've experienced together, it seemed safe, it seemed comfortable, it seemed welcoming, and it was outside of the worst parts of their lives. So I've been thinking about hardship and people whose lives are awful through no fault of their own, whose losses seem insurmountable, but for whom there is desperate hope. The extreme version of desperate hope is those people clinging to the airplane that was taking off on the tarmac in Afghanistan. That's desperate hope. And these two people come to the end of the play with what feels to me like desperate hope. We dismiss it by calling it wishful thinking, we call it magical thinking, and we tell ourselves that things will be better. That is, we all do this all the time, I think. We tell ourselves that things can be better, even if it's magical thinking, even if it's desperate hope. And sometimes, I think, the only way we can dare to move forward is to have desperate hope. So, I think that sort of the bigger themes of this play suggest something about the ideal America, the ideal American character. This is an America that puts aside its differences when there's an occasion to rise to, when floods or fires occur, all hands are on deck. This is an America that secretly struggles to overcome its deeply harbored racial animosities, struggles badly, but tries somehow to overcome them. And all of this is in the play. For all the awful stuff that swirls around the people in this play, somehow their humanity rises to the surface. And to me, that's at the core of this play. That is the interpretive core of the play. So,
Well, I'm Laura Jean, the director, and I don't think I've ever worked on a play directing. I've been in a play where we have had dramaturgs, but I don't think I've ever had a dramaturg when directing. So we're kind of forced, the directors are kind of forced to do it ourselves. And the cast and I had long talks about these issues and about each character. And I agree exactly what you're saying, Larry, with what the themes are and the crux of the play is. And what really attracted me to this play too is it's two people who have such a strong connection, total opposites, but it's not romantic. It's a friendship, and that's very rare, where you can see a play when it's not about some romance, some side romance or something, right? So that I just wanted to bring that up. That was a hook for me.
although Hogan has his male moment.
Of course, yes.
She's digging me, I'll try.
Beth, anything to add?
Oh, you guys, really, you said everything that I feel about the play and more. I thought Larry's summation was really good. I love the way David Albarn, the playwright, has really given us these very real moments with these people, and I feel like our cast, they just rise to that occasion. There are times when I have to remind myself that they're acting, and I'm an actor for many, many years, so I know that they're acting. Isn't it lovely when you just look and go, wow, they're making this connection, and they've only known each other for a month, maybe? They're finding all of these things. I don't know. I'm a total theater whore.
But it's the thing that live theater does the best. When we suspend our disbelief and we believe that we're watching two people like a fly on the wall in a cabin like this, and everything about our emotions and our heart goes out to them in the most real and passionate way that it can. And when it, Auburn is a terrific playwright. He wrote Proof, if any of you know that play, a play about mathematician and the mathematician's daughter. He's able to make that happen as a playwright, and then a good production really brings it to an audience.
And also, you identify. I'm not a pathological liar like
Really?
Hogan, and right, I'm not an African American woman, but we identify with some of the traits, right, with each character, or we know someone like that, and that's what good theater does. And by the way, Proof, David Albarn, that won a Tony Award, of course, but it won the Pulitzer Prize in 2001. And it's, I believe the original Broadway production was with Mary Louise Parker.
Yeah.
And then, of course, they did the movie of it, and the heck was Paltrow in the movie. So, right?
Yeah, I think the thing about not being like these characters, the more specific writing is, the more universal it is.
Mhm.
It's the
Exactly.
trick of great writing.
Yeah. Yep.
I agree with that.
So, I have lots of questions that I would love to ask you if you would like to participate in this. The first thing that occurred to me, I read this play before, I haven't seen it until tonight, but when I read the play was, what do you think the title of the play means? It's never mentioned that that's the name of the place. Lost Lake is never mentioned in the play. So why call it Lost Lake? Why not name it? Or
You get two lost souls out I was always, as she was talking to the audience, and he kept showing up unannounced all the time. And I would say, why doesn't she just turn and say, this, you run it to me, go away. But he was amazing that he just kept coming back, because I think he just wanted friendship. His little dumpy cabin, and he lived in it by himself, and now he's had probably the only renter that he's gonna have all year, and, he
Kind of
wants to,
like a pseudo family.
Yeah.
That he never.
he
and
wants to
can't have
make
that.
sure he pleases, but he's just kind of, under the guise as a friend.
Yeah, I think you starve for connection. Yeah, I like that though, the lostness of these two people.
And there's other things that are lost too. There's a sense of, there's a sense of possession, there's a sense of family that for both of them have been taken away.
Especially for her.
Mhm.
So the other question that occurred to me is what, you have, as a playwright, you have an array of the world to choose characters from. Why make Veronica black? Why is that an important choice as opposed to just two people? Would this play work if the people were not racially different?
And this was written in 2014, by the way, too.
And that's written into the play that she's supposed to be.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yes, it's specific. And he has a line where, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I think it just creates a visual tension. You could get to that tension in other races or other babies, but visually, you can see very striking. She's young, she's black, he's older, and it's like, she's from the city, he's from the lake. Like, that visual tension is immediate when the first two light flashes go off. You know what you're in for.
And he says to her, after Veronica says the lady wouldn't rent to me, and Hogan says, I bet you have to expect that, don't you? About her race. And then she says, I almost got right back on the bus when I saw you because he looks like a white supremacist, right? So, yeah.
But there are lots of seeds of that in the play. He makes assumptions about swimming
Right.
and urban
Right.
people and whether or not she has a husband. And those are all dog whistles in some ways.
Microaggressions, yeah.
Any thoughts about that or comments about that?
Do you have any other questions on the play or the production?
How long did it take for these guys to rehearse together? Because it's just amazing, an hour and a half of dialogue.
Yeah,
And for these guys to memorize these lines, it's just
Yeah.
crazy.
well, you're gonna be amazed because we had probably 18 days of rehearsal in person, and they had to come in with their lines down, which, they were pretty close. What was really great with Chris and Rachel was they got together, we Zoomed together, but then they also Zoomed, to start rehearsals. They Zoomed by themselves to go through the play, and they learned it with each other. And they have such an amazing relationship. It was like, as a director, I was kind of intruding on their friendship every day. So they really solidified their friendship, and thank goodness they got along, and they really do love each other as people. And I think that helped the whole process, because I don't think that would have happened if there was any animosity between them, or if they were on a different kind of wavelength from each other. So really 18 days just on stage before we opened. Yeah.
How did she learn about this theater being based in New York City?
Oh, we know Rachel. Rachel did Doubt for Pendragon in 2013, and she had a small role in A Streetcar Named Desire. So she went to Potsdam. SUNY Potsdam,
Yeah.
so she knew the area and was drawn here.
So did you reach out to her, or?
We did as producers, the Rats, because I gotten to know Rachel a little bit, because I was in streetcar with her, just called her and said, hey, would you want to come back and do a play? And she said yes. So, figure it out, and here she is. Much to our advantage. I believe she's happy to be here. I think she is.
The folks with comments or questions?
Was this the first night of was this opening night? Or-
Actually, Thursday was kind of our soft opening, without advertisement. Last night was the opening. And yeah, there was a little more people here and a little more, audible response. So, yeah, so.
But you guys are great.
Yeah.
So I was
We
back there
could tell
listening. I can hear you all.
You were with it.
You were definitely
Yeah.
with the piece.
Every second. And they know that, they get that.
Yeah, it must be hard, I'm talking to Mike about this, must be really hard to be saying to actors, you're gonna have half a house at best,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
Because actors rely on audience response to fuel what's happening emotionally on stage, and,
Oh, it's the most important dialogue, I always say. You know, that communication you're having with the audience, because you're telling them your story. You're telling them David Auburn's beautifully crafted story in this case. And you want them to get it. You want to share in the experience, not just what we're doing in a vacuum. So it's
I
great.
just wanted to comment about your question about the rehearsal and the fact that this is so much dialogue, and plays are, of course, largely dialogue, much more dialogue than action, but this is a fairly heavy play, dialogue-wise. And the shortness of the rehearsal makes the fact that the dialogue works so well, pretty impressive. But part of, I think, what makes this play work and what makes it feel important is that the dialogue is so good, it's so tight. I don't think there's a wasted second in this play or a moment that doesn't feel absolutely integral to what you need to know about these two people. And that's a really smart and strong playwright. And it's a strange little play in a lot of ways because it doesn't fulfill our expectations for romance. It doesn't, we're looking at characters who are pretty dissipated, and yet we care about them and we stay with them. I think that's great. That's really great writing.
But I have a comment. When he reaches, puts his hand on her leg, was that really a sexual overture or was that something else?
Well,
You know what I mean?
we took it as a sexual overture.
I guess I didn't.
Yeah,
I just felt like he was
He was
reaching for
reassuring her.
something that he didn't know what to expect.
yeah.
He wanted more, but didn't know what it was. And
Well,
I think it was sexual.
I think that's kind of Hogan. I mean, you might be, having some sexual problems. You might be slightly impotent, right? So I don't think he knows how to really make a pass, but it was just, I think it was slightly sexual as well as reassuring. But he'd love it if he got lucky, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was
so-
inappropriate. No question.
Yes, it was inappropriate, right?
He completely misreads the moment. But
Yes.
he's misread
Oh, he's-
a zillion
And-
moments.
And he's a little drunk.
And he's a little drunk, yes.
Yeah.
Or maybe more than a little drunk.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed him because everything came off the top of his head. I mean, it was like what he thought he said.
Yeah.
We always
Yeah.
question her. How come?
No filters, just
Right,
right
yeah.
out
Well,
there.
it was very rapid fire, that's what I
Yeah,
liked
yeah,
about
he-
the dialogue.
And I, he,
Yes, we
There was
worked a
no
lot.
gaps,
We
and
worked
there
a lot
was
in the piece.
overlaps, and it was
he
just,
was going
you had to keep
just
up.
one after the
Yeah.
other. And I appreciated that because he was the same throughout the whole. But she was more controllable. But he would just let it go. He didn't care what he said.
Yeah, and again, I think really good writing and terrific directing and acting in this too, but really good writing differentiates these characters. They don't sound the same. They don't, they don't have the same diction. They don't feel in any way like they were written. They feel like people having a conversation, and that's terrific writing.
So I was a little confused when she said he was in his underwear on the lake, and then that's what led him to knock everything off the table and rip everything off the refrigerator?
I think the jig was up. He got backed in the corner. He couldn't lie his way through that one. It was they said, Debbie. And I think he just like snapped because he couldn't lie. He couldn't lie his way out of that one, right?
What was he lying about?
He was lying about fixing the dock during the
He
day.
wanted to
and-
commit suicide?
Right, exactly. So he had, it was a half-hearted, really bad, attempt at suicide. Maybe not so bad because he's lucky he got found by that neighbor. So yeah, I think that was it. It was like she knew he couldn't lie his way through her knowing that it was a suicide attempt.
I just felt like, Citizen King and Rosebud, I just felt like he had this attachment to the lake. I mean, he could have used a rifle,
Yeah,
but it was just like getting back to something that he really felt he lost.
yeah, that's why I thought it was a half-hearted, attempt. He was conflicted, but he was probably drunk too, so. But I do think it was, even in his drunkenness, it was an intentional act.
I want to mention one other thing. There are about a half a dozen non-present characters in this play who are largely developed. We know a lot about the other characters who people this play. And again, I think terrific writing, but also they sort of brought them out in a way that I thought was really powerful. And we understand certain things about the main characters because of what we understand about these invisible characters who are off stage. Theater is an expensive and high-risk proposition, and to be able to put 8 characters on stage in the bodies of 2 people, that's really good work.
Really economical.
Really.
I have a general question, Todd. How do you guys, as a small theater, go through the thousands of plays and say, that's the one we're gonna choose?
I can answer that question not for this theater, but for the theater that I worked for. I was both the literary manager and the dramaturg at Interact Theater Company in Philadelphia, and was also one of the founding dramaturgs of the National New Play Network, which is now a significant network in producing new plays. And I read probably 350 plays a year, and I saw another probably 60 to 90, depending upon how many play festivals I got to in a particular year. And then there's a sort of winnowing down process where, I really didn't have anything but the power of suggestion to my artistic director, and I felt like I was able to understand what my artistic director's taste was and what the company needed, and the diversity of the season. You have to pick a place for a season well enough that I could get to about 80% accuracy picking plays. There were always some conflicts, but it really was a question of winnowing down from a huge pile of plays, and I'm sure it's no different for you guys.
Well, Beth and Karen from the Adirondack Stage Rats did pick this play for specific reasons.
I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Stage Rats and what we do. We've been in existence since 2016. We mainly formed to serve the artists in the area, actors who have either retired from a professional career or just want to keep acting. And Pendragon can't cast all of them all of the time, so we wanted to provide a smaller venue for them. And we started out over at Blue Seed, and Chris Lifei, of all people, he coined small batch theater for what it is that we do, because none of our plays are over 5 characters. So all of our research is just looking at plays that are 2, 3, 4, 5 in the cast. And we don't double. We haven't done any doubling, meaning a play that has 7 or 10 characters and 2 or 3 are played by the same actor. We don't do that, because over at Blue Seed, I don't know if you've been there, there's no wing space, there's no hiding, the actors are just going off, coming on, and our rehearsal time is very truncated, and I've lost the thread now.
Well,
I love doing it, and I love this partnership with Mike. We brought this to Mike because we can't use the space, I'm sorry LJ, we can't use the space at Blue Seed. because of the pandemic, the ceiling was too low, and we can't get more than 15 people in there at a time. And even that is risky because there's just not enough room the way we've been performing. We did a play in our yard last year, in our yard, like Mickey and Judy put on a show, and it was fantastic. So this year, we just said to Mike, we have this play and we don't really want to do it in our yard. Are you interested in partnering with us? And he read the play and liked it. So here we are.
Also, with choosing a play, you have to look at the commercial, aspects of it. Hopefully we'll bring people in because, there's been some hit and misses here. There's been big, kind of academia kind of choices that brought in a lot of actors that you had to pay for housing and, musicals that are maybe more kitschy or, rather than, mainstream. So you do have to look at that as well, where you have some commercial name, and then you can do your more avant-garde, play too.
And that's putting season together, basically.
Yeah,
Figure out what balances.
Balance it out, yeah.
Great question.
Here's one back there.
Who's responsible for the scene that he breaks down and he really shows his deep traumas, where he pushes the chairs and he almost breaks the table and he tears her? It's like, did that come from the director? Did that come from him?
That was, it's in the script that he bumps into the chair and then he goes on I don't remember exactly what it said, but a destructive path. And, sometimes, some actors respond well to more of the physicality or, and it's harder in a small space to have a hissy fit. But I had that poster, that was not in the script, I had that poster, and then Karen and Beth made copies of that 1980s Olympic, which just worked perfect. And we felt like that was the, he tore that up, and that was all of his identity.
It's really
Right.
true. It's very, very true. I work with children who deal with trauma,
Yeah,
and his trauma was so real in very few actions
yes,
that I wanted to commend wherever that came from, because that was actually what people do. They ruin things that are important to themselves
yes.
in that moment, and it's multiple things that get thrown, and I've done it myself even.
Mm-hmm.
So it was very accurate.
Well, thank you. I will tell Chris that we did work choreographically on it, where, you do this, we didn't number, 5, 6, 7, 8, but we did,
And the timing is.
right. It was 1, 2, stools, refrigerator. He was banging on the stove with the pots and pans at one point, but then we thought of the poster, so,
It's the poster.
yeah.
It's where he lands, it's very beautiful.
Yeah, oh, good,
In
thank
a
you.
horrible way, it's beautiful.
Yeah, good, thank you, and I will tell him on that, because he worked really hard
Please do.
with me on that.
It's the
Yeah,
right tone.
yeah, thank you.
Larry, maybe time for one more question or comment?
You have one?
I don't, but if anyone does.
When he went into his tirade there, was that as a result of her telling him that he was found out in the water in his underwear?
That,
So he couldn't answer that.
well, it was more that she caught him in a lie after lie after lie. It wasn't during the day, it wasn't going out in a canoe, it wasn't in your clothes. He was like a cornered animal with nowhere to go. Yeah, he could not lie his way out, and that's what he does, he lies. He couldn't lie anymore. So that inability to have an excuse or justify with another lie, it just was too much for him, and So that's
But
how it
that,
happened.
it was also an interesting, because it was so similar to the previous scene where she lied about what happened with the girl.
Right,
And she was lying to him, and he knew, because he was the one who went and
Yeah.
rescued her.
yeah,
So I thought that,
yeah,
that was interesting.
yeah, that is, yeah, yeah.
I like how they're not perfect people. There's no, it's very truthful. We're all in this gray area. It's just so nice to see that, beautifully realized, and also see the heart of these people, you know? Just the, wanting that human connection, and there's real love there. Love for their families. I think he genuinely loves his daughter. I don't think any of that is phony.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
You know, same way she loves her children, and that parallel